welcome to this joint production between Let's Go to the Movies and Take Two, a movie podcast. I'm Joe Garcia.
I'm Spencer Davis.
And today we are going to talk about Slayer and Nightmare, the two newest short films we put out. We got the whole cast and crew here. We've got Tristan Bixby, Becca, Adam Alexander, Daniel, I almost said Daniel first, Spencer Davis, production manager, and Walker Spalding, the Psycho. So yeah, we're going to get straight into this. For those of you who don't know, you probably don't want to go into this blind. So if you have not seen Slayer or Nightmare, please watch those right now. So we're going to get into spoilers. So, yeah, I'm going to turn it to, why don't we turn it to Tristan first. Summarize Slayer for us.
Oh boy, okay, so Slayer, we have Becca, and she had some stuff happen to her in the past. So she's just kind of hanging out with this one guy. He's really, really sweet. We love him. He's great. And then he kidnaps her, puts her in a trap room. They murder each other, and it's a great time.
That summed it up really well, I think. Yeah. Yeah, and so so let's start with Tristan. I mean, what did you think when you first got this script? What were you thinking when I first sent you this?
The script itself?
Yeah,
after
and
I
just
read it?
Getting into that character, and yeah.
I had goosebumps. I thought it was very, very original, something that we haven't seen a whole lot of. I was really excited to play Becca. I love the way that you wrote her. Just the strong femininity, and she was so clever. Oh my gosh, I loved playing her.
Okay. Yeah. And so for those of you, Slayer obviously is connected to Nightmare. That was the big thing at the end of Slayer, and it turns out that Walker's character, the Psycho, which we'll get to in a second, he was motivated by the slasher from the first one. And so that's kind of his inspiration, turns out. And then at the end of the movie, Becca and the slasher both die in the park. And then it turns out she ends up in purgatory with Daniel, Adam's character. So that's how it all kind of ties together. So turning to Walker, what was it like? You did cinematography for Lair, but I asked you to kind of step into more of an acting role this time. What was it like?
I mean, I love acting. I did a lot of acting in high school. With plays and everything. I've never got to act for a film other than like short little gags I've done for my stuff. So I mean, it was cool. Like I enjoy being behind the camera or being in front of the camera. I like being a ham, and so like I think this was really just like a fun role to just kind of let loose.
Yeah, and like that's one of the things when I was writing this, like I knew I wanted to make it different because the whole thing was going from Lair. That was more of old horror in a way. And like, so I wanted to make this different. If I was coming back to horror, I was like, I don't know if I want to do horror again. But I had this idea, and I was like, what if we did it like this? And then we honored more of a modern horror-esque, like Scream, Candyman kind of in there, and Saw, obviously, the biggest. And so like when I first thought of this, I was like, we need someone who's going to be like and like the first person I thought of was you, Walker. And so in a way, I did write that role for you. So yeah,
I'm very touched.
It's like the first person I thought of, and yeah, so it's kind of interesting to see how this dynamic plays out, and obviously this leads into Nightmare when Adam's character comes in. So what was it like coming back? Did you think we were ever going to come back to this?
Yeah, no. With what's going on now, like I didn't think we were going to get back to this for a while, but I'm really happy we did because I had a lot of fun working on Lair. It just got me into a mindset of just like wanting to be productive and like progressive and stuff, and the fact that we carried on this trilogy that's as intricate as it is, it was really fun to be a part of all three. And like yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I never thought it would all tie together until it did, and then I was like, well, like that. It just was so unexpected for me. So let's just get straight into it. We started with Slayer. We started, correct me, what was that? June-ish?
Mid-June.
And that's another thing. The hard part about this was we shot these both back to back. So that's when you'll see, like once you see these released, we did do a blooper reel. And like, so some of this, like I know one point in particular, Adam was like, there was one point where he said like the completely wrong line because he was on the next movie, and then it was still the end of that. So that was a lot of the challenge with this. Like, any of you guys have any thoughts about that? Because like, what did you think about shooting these back to back? Like,
I have something. I remember thinking like, oh, Joe's gonna like obviously show up to set with like a bunch of note cards because I have no idea how I would be like keeping track of movies like this. Like you have to go through like scene by scene and like, okay, this scene also takes place in the same place, so I'm gonna like just layer it.
Oh.
So that like we shoot them. I don't know. I was having like a hard time on my own trying to figure out how you were gonna like film it, and so like to see you like roll up to set, like you like knew exactly like what we needed to film. Like I was pretty impressed.
Oh,
I
thanks,
thought that was
yeah.
pretty cool.
This is one of those where I like saw it all in my mind and I was like, I know what we need to do. I know. And that was one of the hardest parts. Like I will say this experience was it was the hardest experience yet filming because we had so many different people, like not to say it wasn't huge, but like we had all these different people and all these different schedules, like people needed to be out and like we only had a limited amount of time. And because, you know, we were shooting these scenes, like the park scene, we shot the Nightmare stuff and the Slayer stuff at the same time. So it was very like, I felt at least a time crunch. I'm sure you guys did too.
Yeah,
but-
no, to add on to that, it almost adds the excitement to wanting to see it all come together because filming out of order is so interesting because you have to portray so many different emotions, like because they're in different scenes and different parts of the trilogy, and seeing it all come together, like obviously we've seen it, but seeing it all come together, I think it worked really, really well after filming it all like kind of together. Like,
really, I think it conserved time, so like we didn't have to come back to places, and we kept everyone going. I mean, it was what, like seven days, I think. So like 7 days, but they were full days, and I calculated it up. I think it was like a full 24 hours. I think if we counted all up, it was a lot. I'm not gonna lie. So we started with Slayer. The first thing we shot was the coffee shop scene, and that was kind of, I liked that we had that to start off with because initially it was just going to be the waiting room scenes, and I was like, that's kind of a weird like jumping in point. So starting with the coffee shop scenes, which thank you to Guest House, yeah, thanks for letting us film. But it was very interesting starting with that. Tristan, Walker, how was it like coming on the first day? Like what were you guys thinking? Like,
I really enjoyed kind of like the energy that brought to it because it was the first time that I had really ever met you, Walker. So it had like the nervous, excited energy that we kind of had for a little bit of the scene that we are referring to. And I thought that just kind of like that adding to the character, I thought it was a great time. It was a great experience.
I feel like we just kind of like, whoosh, like as soon as our personalities, it's like, boom, like everything just like exploded. Like because I remember I was like, I asked Tristan because I was nervous to meet her, like because this is an ISU kid, like this kid's professional quality actor, like she's got a resume, like I don't have any of this stuff, so I was like, hey, do you want to run lines? I figured like that'd like help like us meet each other, like make it better for the scene, and like boom, we hit it off. Like it was really cool, like getting to meet her like that way, because like we started throwing jokes back and forth, and that made like the next scene we did like so much better.
There is a part in the scene that we were referring to with the coffee shop scene, where I believe there's music playing over it, and we're walking out of the coffee shop. I turned to him and I'm like, I'm just going to tell you as many dad jokes as I know. And he was like, I'll beat you to it. It was just a fun little tidbit for you.
because I remember when we were filming, like you guys were like, you're like the eyes. What's the eye shot about? Like I don't know. I don't get like I was like I got it in my head, but like I know like filming that it probably was weird just to have like the camera real close to you guys.
Staring
like,
affectionately into the
And the thing is, this is my first film, so I was like, is this what's to be expected? Will I be gazing into this camera every other, like I was, so it was a nice first experience for me. I really enjoyed it though.
Yeah, and then to top it all off, we brought in Adam and Zach, which big thank you to them. Bringing in the high quality cameras, letting us use this to record in. I mean, it was a huge help, I think, for all of us. It took a load off my shoulders for sure. And then to cap off that first day, we saw someone die, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I think, like, anyone want to explain? Like,
she was dead. She was dead.
She was dead. We came out of Guest House, and like down the street there was like a bunch of these paramedics and police like on the corner, and someone was like passed out on a bench, and I don't know why the paramedics would be there if. Yeah, so I hope we did not see someone die.
The deal breaker was the drape that they put over her as they put her into the ambulance. That's when I was like, yeah, she's done. She's done.
Yeah, so a really freaky way to start the first day, but
this movie is actually cursed.
Well, we'll get to that later. It is cursed. So and then we topped it off. So day 2 was the waiting room scene. So this was again changing course again. So we did the nightmare and the Slayer post credits, I should say. So this was the first thing we shot that day. I remember too, because this was the scene where Adam and Tristan run upstairs. And so like everyone, it's interesting because everyone was up there. Like we had John, Skeeter, Walker was not there, but like Lily, Joanna, and they were all just sitting up there, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna watch them. And from that first take, you could feel the energy was there. You guys were doing so great. So yeah, what was it like to come back to especially you for this character, and like what was it like to share the screen with Tristan? I know you guys are friends, but
I was super excited once I heard that we'd be acting together in Nightmare, because I've acted with Tristan in high school before, and like there's a dynamic and like a sort of level of respect for somebody you've acted with before that like you've been there before, and the fact that we could just play around and like use this movie as kind of our medium to like get back into acting together was really special.
Yeah, and I think just like from that first shot, like you could tell, like I looked at John and Skeeter, and they're like, okay, these guys are good, like watch out, like I know they like were kind of like, shit, I have to be good now, like elevate my game. And so that was a long day. That was, I think, a 3.5 hour day. And now saying that's not super long, but it felt so long.
Oh yeah.
Because we had to do all of that stuff. And so we brought back Skeeter as Tom, gave him an elevated role, and he still blames Walker to this day for that during the script consultant. Because, I mean, explain your kind of process when you were...
Okay, so Joe wanted to add the whole like side plot with Skeeter. And I said, okay, we have to kind of, not that we don't care about Skeeter, because we all love Skeeter, but we have to make it so that his character is like kind of discovering something about himself. And so we kind of joked like earlier on in Lair, like, oh, he's holding like this little swimming pamphlet thing. Like, so like maybe he drowned whenever he died. Like that's like the little
joke,
blip. Yeah. And so I said, like, what if we like included a little more about that? And like, so like whenever he realizes he dies, like he just kind of has this surreal reaction. And so I said, Joe, I think we should push Skeeter just a little bit farther than he's comfortable with. And so I said, what if he like was just surrounded by this body of water, like which we would add like later.
Yeah.
And then like he just spit up like a bunch of water. Like I think in my head I thought he might like spit out a little bit more, but I mean, it got the
effect, yeah. And that was one of the things where he was getting up to do it. He's like, "God damn it, Walker!" Like he just kept saying that because, like, I know this definitely pushed him, like and that's one of my favorite parts about doing this stuff is like bringing non-actors in and making them actors. I think that's so fun. And to watch Skeeter in this elevated role, I think he did a great job. Honestly, I think he rose to the occasion. Excited for everyone to see that. But and we filmed most of the reception scenes, and on to the third day. Does anyone remember?
Was the third day?
I feel like
was that like the long day, like where we went out to Emden and then the park?
I feel like it was the park.
I think it was the park.
Yeah. And so to bring kind of Spencer into this, he was production manager, many titles for Lair. Light Boy, Head Tilt Coordinator, many titles. And to bring him back for this, explain kind of what you were feeling, like when you read the script, like when you were...
Like when I made my edits?
Yeah, when you...
Okay.
You made your edits,
Yeah. I think really it was... reading Slayer was really cool because like Lair had a very different feel to it when I was reading it. And Slayer was a definite new vibe. So like what you said with like old horror, like being Lair, Slayer felt like a new kind of horror vibe. It brought in a lot of the stuff that you like, relevant world stuff. So I thought like a lot of the jokes hit better because of like what's going on now. I mean working with everyone was really cool.
Yeah, I liked working with this crew we got. Yeah. It was really a lot of fun. And so to go kind of night 3 now, because we came to the studio, we recorded the songs, we recorded Walker's trap footage or whatever, which you guys want to speak on that, because Spencer was coordinator there.
You want to lead?
Yeah, I got you. So I was like a little nervous, like first time being in front of the camera ever. I told you like I'm a little nervous, I'm a little shaky on my lines. I'd feel a lot better if I had like some way just like kind of reference them like as we were going on. So I asked Spencer, hey, can you do me a serious solid? Can you just please hold my phone like right above the camera? Just so like I can look at it if I need to. And Spencer was a total champ. He like sat there with like his hands right next to the camera scrolling through like the entire script for me, and that's love. That is love.
Get you someone who will do that.
I just like what I remember from that was like trying to figure out how not to like hit the scroll bar on the side of it, because when you hit that, it just all hell would break loose. And I did it once because I remember like I think it's in the bloopers.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
Walker looking at the camera for like 4 seconds and then me saying, "Yeah, I scrolled."
I hit the scroll.
And I mean, like, yeah, it's more of a feel thing, but like it was cool working with you and just being able to like seeing your first time in the camera and you becoming more comfortable with each take. I thought was a really cool part, specifically with that scene.
And yeah, and so after that, we went to the park here in Lincoln, Latham Park. You can go there, you can visit the scene where it all went down. And this was, I think, one of the most productive nights, but also one of the most cursed nights, and we'll get to that. But I want to turn this to kind of Tristan and Walker, because this was their big moment. This was the big park scene. What was it like doing this? Like, just, I don't know.
I don't know. I just remember. I remember going into it thinking, "Oh my God, this is gonna hurt really bad," because I had to work at 5 o'clock in the morning the next day, and like the mask. Oh my
That's
gosh,
another thing you need to
this
touch on that.
mask!
It's another
I
curse.
hated that thing. That is. So I got very hot in this mask. This mask stuck to my face. If you've ever seen the Goosebumps episode where the mask gets stuck to the kid's face, this is the haunted mask. I'm not joking. Like, it got stuck to my face. It made me very hot. I couldn't breathe half the time. So like we would have to stop takes so that I could like take a moment to breathe. I'm like making a big something out of nothing. Like it was a lot of fun. Like it was.
You
cool.
were hot. Like it was bad.
Yeah.
You're like peeling.
I
had to like peel it off my face. I'm not kidding.
I remember when in one of the scenes where you're over me with a knife, I was sitting there thinking like, I hope the sweat doesn't like start dripping down, because I just don't want to have to deal with that right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, no. Okay, so here's the deal. I like dropped the knife in the grass on accident, so I'll get it, and I bent over to like pick it up, and like just a pool of sweat just fell out of my face, and I was like, where did that come from?
Hold up.
My face smelled like Spirit Halloween. Like it smelled so stinky.
Yeah,
My
those
pillow-
masks are like stank. It's bad. Yeah, and like, so this scene obviously is the big confrontation in the park. Psycho reveals his true intentions. Becca kind of, and this is where they face off. And it kind of concludes, Walker gets her, and then Tristan comes back, tackles him, and just annihilates him. And pretty much he's like, yes, this is what I wanted. He wanted to prove that she had it in her, and this is kind of what she has to deal with going into Nightmare. And so, and then we see her, laughing at the end. So, what was it like to film that fight scene? We're gonna get to the big elephant in the room, but yeah, what was it like? I mean, Tristan and Walker.
The money shots.
It was my first time. Keep in mind, this is also my first film, so it was my first time being able to act in the actual places that match your creative vision, as opposed to like props and stuff on stage. So that added like a whole new element of just a new world of tangible objects, I suppose. Like it made it so much more real. And I remember sometimes getting genuinely scared just because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's nighttime. It's like exactly how it is in the script. And it was like, at some point in time, it really was that easy to just get into character. So there's a certain element that I really appreciated about that. I'll speak more once we get to the...
Yeah.
I was very in the moment. I don't know if I was as scared. I think I was more scared than Tristan was.
Because you had the
Because
knife.
I had the knife
You had
in
everything
my
going for
pocket.
you.
It sitting like right on my stomach. Very, very scary. Very hard to run.
Yeah.
And like I look back at some of the takes of me running, just like throughout this. I'm like, God, this is. I hate that I run.
In your defense, you had the mask on.
The mask on too. Like it was so hard to see
3 layers
anything.
of clothing.
Yeah.
The sweatshirt and the apron.
Yeah.
We were talking about like how I totally lost my train of thought. Okay, no. We were talking about the fight stuff.
Yeah.
I remember. Well, okay, bringing up the knife again. It was really nerve-wracking to work with that and not like hurt anybody, but also I don't know. Like
Yeah,
we did
right
a
there.
good job. We did a great job, and I mean Spencer's brother did a great job making the knife.
Rescoot.
Spencer or Tristan, I'm so sorry.
They're the same person. That's another thing.
Yes,
We've
yes.
agreed on
Yeah,
this.
stunt doubles. Yeah, if you guys can take a look here. Yeah.
Tristan did a great job though, like helping choreograph the scene. I think we need to like spotlight Tristan on this
Yeah.
because like we had a plan, but Tristan having a background in theater, I remember reading her resume, like she talked about doing stunt choreography. She said like, oh, well, we could do this, like where I fall backwards and nothing bad's gonna happen.
That did not age well. And because that's kind of the
Foreshadowing.
that's kind of the thing I knew what I wanted from like the shots where they're on the ground, but getting to like the ground, that was a hard part for me. At least I was like, you guys plan it, like as long as you guys feel comfortable with it. I don't want to like push you guys and make you anyway. And so what we did was we filmed the close-up stuff, and then at the very end we had Adam come in and do his stuff for Nightmare with Becca, and then we filmed the far away stuff just for the Nightmare, like point of view stuff. So when we filmed the far away stuff, Tristan.
Okay, so I'm sitting there thinking, how are we gonna do this? And I'm like, okay, it was my freshman year when I started acting at NCHS, and in one of our first productions, we learned how to fall correctly, if that makes any sense, like for a stage. So I was like, I got this. I played softball. I have 3 brothers. I'm big and strong, and I can do it. And then, and then as I was, doing my run, he was running after me. He pushes me. Something happened. I don't remember if I lost my footing, if maybe you just shoved me to the ground because you hate me.
Hey.
You said you wanted my card. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
Whoa.
Little blow, I'm sorry. But something happened, and I ended up falling on my back a little harder than I expected, and my head said bonk. And I ended up getting a really bad headache from that, to say the least.
In my defense, I found out that Tristan had a headache, and we all I messaged her immediately. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope you're okay. She's like.
Oh my God.
And so and then Joe and Spencer and Adam and then Zach came to me saying we just want you to know, Walker, it's not your fault that this happened. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't even touch her. She yeeted herself backwards.
I wasn't there.
Understand,
I wasn't there for that. I didn't say anything to you.
No, literally everyone's like, it's not your fault, Walker. I know it is.
It's
because
called
I didn't touch her.
dedication. Oh my God.
I felt super bad.
Method acting.
Yeah, seriously.
I was like, if I don't, yeah.
And so we felt like the production was cursed from that point on, because Tristan the next day was like, this is bad, and I was like, shit, I feel super bad about this, but nonetheless we were able to move forward. And so that night, that was another hard thing, getting the fake blood in there and getting that
You didn't even talk
going.
about the hands.
A lot of meme shots in there with that.
The money shots.
The money shots. And so kind of what happened with that was we had these
Plastic containers?
Yeah, plastic containers. And we would basically use the lids to fling it up onto Walker and Tristan. And so we got a couple of shots. There was one where I clearly didn't know I was in frame, and they got that in the bloopers. But I was just right in the shot. But I think it really worked well, and it looked good in the end with how it turned out with that. Because I wasn't sure how we were gonna do this, but I think the lid method worked. I mean, yeah, it gave us a couple meme shots, but
Being the blood splatter guy, number 2,
Yeah.
I'll have to agree with that. That was well worth scooping up a bunch of.
And then your other title, acting, or what was it? You
the light flickers? Oh no,
No,
the
Oh my
miming.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yes.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
You should, there's a video out there, of Nelson Mandela's funeral, and there's this guy that is supposedly, he
I'm sure
lied
there is.
whenever, sign language interpreters.
Yeah.
Okay.
He took this guy's speech at Nelson Mandela's funeral,
Mhm.
and he made up everything, all the hand motions, and so that's kind of what I think of whenever I think of Adam, trying to help me out with some of my lines, because again, I was still pretty nervous, and it was really hard to focus with the mask on. So I appreciate Adam very much for doing that.
It was
I
impressive
wish we
to
could have gotten it on
watch.
camera.
Yeah, Adam was
Yeah.
going all.
It's just certain gestures look like certain words.
Yeah, he was going all into it.
My time, I went to college.
I actually, in high school, one of my auditions for a play, I had to mime going through a grocery store and seeing my crush on a bad hair day. And so, I got cast in that show for being a good mimer, a big mimer for,
Oh my God,
grabbing
was I
things that
there
weren't
for
there.
that?
That was, the murder mysteries one.
Yes, I remembered that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. So like, I got cast for being able to sign language, I guess.
Your skills came in handy. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like filming that late at night in the middle of Lincoln, having Walker with his mask on and his knife out, it was a tricky predicament for sure.
Very scary.
Had to get it cleared with everyone. Didn't want anyone freaking out because, masked man with a knife in the middle of Lincoln. So that was kind of a little bit challenging.
Had a bright spotlight right on.
Yeah, just a spotlight. Yeah, yeah.
I think we should have had like sirens going off saying like, "Hey, this may look like an actual murder occurring, but this is not." Because we had one kid like yell at us saying like, "Hey, are you guys okay?"
Yeah.
And we're like, "We're good."
We're good. Yeah. Yeah, that was one of my biggest concerns. I was like, hopefully cops do not show up and stuff. But like, we contacted all the proper channels and stuff. So, and then on to the next day, I think it was the big day. We went to Towanda, went back to the lair location. We went all over. Where did we go? We did the fight scene later, but did we come
We
somewhere
went
else?
to
Adam's house.
Towanda, and then to Normal, and then to Lincoln, and then to Hartsburg.
Yeah, like everywhere basically.
Yeah.
And so we started off in the lair location in Towanda, which it was so cool. I know, at least for me, to go back and see, because it's been what, 6 months now since we filmed Lair,
And
but
when we went there, it was in January, so all the trees were dead and
Yeah.
very bare and very empty, and then it looked like a millennia had passed because everything was
Honestly.
overgrown and all up on the side of the house, and
yeah.
it was a different place.
Yeah, and luckily we didn't, I know I didn't have to rewrite a lot of the script, because initially I thought about, what if we go back inside to the house, because that would be cool, but I was like, that doesn't, it feels too much of a fan service thing. But, what was it like coming back to the house?
Like I said, unexpected. Like, it looked like a whole new place with all the overgrown stuff, because we had to run on the left side of the house for some of the shots, and there was just so much stuff to go over, so many branches swinging backwards. Like, I think I got some scratches and stuff from just running through that wilderness that had just grown in the last 6 months.
Honestly, I didn't realize how high. Yeah.
Going back to it, it was nostalgic in a sense.
It was. That's how at least I felt. I was like, this is where it all started.
Yeah.
And if you go back and look, at the we took pictures at the end, and I think us five, and Evan too. We looked so much older in just 6 months' time, and I was like, shit, this is real. I don't know. It's crazy. But and so what was it like, Tristan, coming to the house for the first time? I know you'd seen it before, but
Yeah.
being there and
Well, the fact that I had seen the house before in the first film of this trilogy, Layer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I knew that. I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
Concussion, whatever. Headache. Anywho. So, having seen that before, it was a little bit of a starstruck moment. I was like, oh my gosh, I remember the scene that was here, and now I'm here, and I'm with him, and he was in the scene, and it was just a great experience because it was. Like I said, it was a little bit of a starstruck moment because I had seen it before. Not to mention the lake was a lot nicer than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Because it was in a horror film, and you don't think about how it looks in a different context.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't even remember the lake. I don't remember it. Was it frozen when we were there in January, or?
Must
You
have
know,
been.
Joe, I don't even think he was there. It just kind of showed up a little bit.
It's fun.
They
We
appear
have been
like
getting
that.
a lot of rain.
Yeah. That's true. No, and so kind of seeing all 4 of these characters on screen for the first time, I know at least for me it was a cool experience, because this was when I was writing this, this was the big moment where Evan's character reveals himself to be back, and so what was it like you guys playing off of those two and you playing off of them in a way? What was it like getting you guys all together for the first time on screen?
I'll let Walker take that one.
Oh, I was gonna say, it was kind of fun. It was fun being the bad guys, just because I felt like we were just bullying them to no end. It was funny. It's dude, come on, we're everywhere. You can't outrun us. But then I get a knife put in me. So it was fun. It was really fun. Getting to just josh their taters. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, Josh your taters, that sums it up pretty well. Yeah, I thought it was really fun to yell back at them and Josh the bad guys' taters pretty much.
And then we came back to Lincoln, filmed at Adam's house for the exterior of the trap room, so we were really jumping all over. And kind of to go back to the park scene too, we had my car used as Tristan's getaway, which we need to bring that up. Driving around, we drove around the block multiple times, and like every time we hit a pothole, like we'd be like,
You're
like.
so mean. You were so mean because I was already nervous because it wasn't my car and we had cameras in the car and they were like fairly expensive cameras, you know. And then next thing you know, like I hit one little bump and Joe's like, "Oh my gosh, my car!" And I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry." It really helped me get in character. Yes, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, and then I think the best part was during the actual take of the beginning of Slayer, and if you listen to it, you can hear it after she's like done,
You're right,
like
you can practically
feel it. Yeah,
It's
she hits another pothole, and she's like, "Oh shit!" Like, oh, it's still like it makes me laugh to this point. Like I listen for that part. I'm like, it's coming up, guys. It's coming up. But yeah, and so. That was kind of, it was interesting doing that scene before we'd done the trap room. I don't know about you guys, because I don't know, like, if you're thinking about the characters in a way, you haven't done the scene building up to this. So what was that kind of like? Like,
Give me a second to think about that. That's a good
Yeah.
question.
I mean, I don't know. So I was sitting in the back of the car like whenever you guys were filming that, like just watching out, making sure that it was still a pothole and not like somebody's dog. But it was cool. It was cool. I mean, because I think personally, I can speak for myself when I say that the trap room was probably my favorite bit
Okay.
to film. I
Was
liked
your
being
big
able
break, yeah.
to work with like the whole room. It's really spooky. But I think like, honestly, you know, you'd think it would be a lot harder to film that like scene in the car
or even the
before
ones where you're
trap
coming out
room.
of the house.
Yeah. But I think I can speak for a lot of people and my mom too, who watched Slayer and said you did an excellent job, Tristan. When I say that Tristan did a really good job, like especially with
Yeah.
the opening, like I believe that if you had told me that that was like one of the last scenes we filmed, I wouldn't believe it because Tristan like got into the character like immediately every time.
Yeah, it was very impressive. Yeah, kudos to her. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that? I mean,
Remind me what specifically we're talking about.
so
I'm so sorry.
the exterior of the house coming out, like filming that before the trap room, did that like
Right.
phase you at all? Like I
I
don't know.
feel like it almost added to the trap room scene just because it was like, okay, I know what happens before and I know what happens after, and just kind of like having that missing piece almost like added to the drive to fulfill that, if it makes any sense, because I'm not used to doing things out of order like around the filming world, so it was just,
Yeah.
it was nice to kind of have that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to say this is like one of my favorite sequences in the film. Like after Tristan escapes the house and like it cuts back and forth between like me like going out of the house and like Tristan like trying to find the keys in the car. Like I don't know, I thought that was really well cut. Shout out to Zach and Adam
Yeah.
and Joe.
Shout out. Yeah, because that's one of those things that like when I'm writing it, I had it in my mind, but like, of course, like the exact house I envisioned didn't work out, but like it still worked out fine because like I always wanted that back and forth, you know, to build the suspense and like keep you wondering because like it's right in the nick of time. So yeah, and then we lastly concluded that day with the fight scene. This was probably the hardest thing to film. I don't know what you guys think.
I'd say something about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it too.
both.
I think the biggest thing for that, like leading up to it, was like there's a time crunch.
Ah,
Because
yeah.
I know people had to start leaving soon, so you're trying to. There was a lot of choreography being taught just on the fly.
Yeah.
In, like 30 minutes, I think.
Oh yeah,
You guys were learning.
setting up as well with the whole
Yeah.
white background on the left and right side. Yeah.
Yeah, and setting up the strobe lights, and
Evan was
The
strobe light
strobe
coordinator.
lights
Yes.
like going off randomly.
You had to like sync them too. So like if one messed up, you had to redo the whole process.
And I think that was just like a real like, it showed that everyone working together like helped out a lot because
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that we were like there were people setting up the screen part, there were people working on throwing hatchets or
Going over lines.
right, yeah, exactly. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I thought that was what really made the cast and crew kind of work together. I thought that was cool.
Well, I can say something real quick. I think it's really cool like how the scene kind of came together. I know it wasn't like perfect,
Yeah.
but I remember going with Joe like whenever like before we went and filmed the first day, like the coffee house scene, and like Joe was like, okay, I want to use this warehouse, but how are we going to use it? And so I think it was really cool like how we were able to take that like space and turn it into like this hall of doom
In a
like,
way,
where,
yeah.
like everyone puts up their dukes and punchies it out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I think it's cool.
Yeah, what was it like for you guys? I mean, you were kind of took the lead on the choreography in a way.
Yeah, I think Tristan and I think have gone through similar experiences when it comes to choreography in fight, dancing, whatever, you name it. And so I think having that same experience, we know that we were kind of comfortable with kind of like taking charge of like, all right, what if we did this, or can we work with that? And then that kind of energy like dispersed through all of us, and we all just really kind of worked together, and we're like, okay, yeah, and we all added to it, and then we kind of like just made our own little scene just
Yeah.
out of like building off of each other.
Honestly,
Yeah, so it worked out really, really well, I think.
I really enjoyed working on that scene as well. I like how you're just like, eventually this needs to happen and then this needs to happen. Figure it out. You guys can
Yeah.
do this. And I like that you kind of trusted Adam and I to do what we thought worked, what would feel comfortable for us, and just kind of having that creativity, so to say, or oh gosh, no, I had it in my head, now it's gone. But just kind of having that leniency with that, we
Mhm.
really appreciated that, and it was really great. It was a fun time.
Yeah, I think that because that was the main part. Like we'd already had the headache issue, and so like we didn't want to like chance it again. So I was like, leaving this up to you guys. Like you guys figure it out. And like we only had a limited time. We did it as like a hallway shot in a way. Walker kind of pitched that to me, and so we did it that way. But then like we didn't have a lot of time to do close-ups, so we had to do just a few close-ups that we could do. And so hopefully people can see the fight like progress. I know it's hard to see at times. But, I mean, for what we were working with, I think it turned out really great. Visually, it's, like, almost exactly what I pictured, so I'm pretty satisfied with that at least. And so after that day, somebody help me here. I know the last day we did the trap room, but otherwise, I don't.
I can't remember what else.
I think that was Trap Room was last day.
Yeah.
I thought that was the next
last
thing.
day
Okay.
after that.
So, yeah, straight into the trap room, and yeah, I mean, so this was another like meme day, because we get there and Adam Hoffman and I spend like an hour trying to fiddle with the Chromecast to get, because we wanted the trap video and stuff to be live on TV so it looked real. The Chromecast wasn't working, so we just had to do it in post. But we fiddled with that for like an hour, and then at that point it was like 10. Like I know people had to be out. Like you had to work the next morning again. And like Tristan had to be out, so we were like, how are we gonna do this? And it was an experience. And plus that room was sweltering.
It was so hot.
Like it was 100 plus, I think.
I walked all the way down. I walked down like 3 blocks to go get a soda from like the
Cooling off.
machine, and all they had was Diet Coke. So I think that was probably the scariest experience.
There was the Betis machine though.
I didn't see the Betis machine.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, what was it like filming that scene for both you guys? I know you were there just for like the beginning to do your stuff, and then you bolted. It was mainly Tristan, but like we'll start with you, Walker, and then head to Tristan. But
Like I said, it was probably my favorite like sequence we did. I liked being able, because I had no idea the trap door was there until I
Yeah.
think like whenever we went to like just
Neither
kind of
did I.
explore the location. So I was like, oh my gosh, wouldn't this be so cool if my character came out of this room?
Mhm.
And I love the way like it's set up in the film. I don't know, I just liked being able to work with the room as my character. And like the shot you set up with Adam, like where my shadow's
The shadow.
like wiggling the keys.
I can't take all the credit. Yeah, Adam. That was mainly Adam's idea. It's hats off to him. That was really cool looking. Yeah, and that's the sliding door did remind me. It gave me that Saw vibe.
Yeah.
And so that's what that's the first take of the bloopers when you did your, because I could tell during this take, I could tell Walker was faking. Tristan did not. And
that's what made it all the much better.
and Walker slides out and he goes,
Bitch!
and Tristan's in character right now. She's feeling it and she's like, I hate you.
I was unaware that that's what you were planning to do.
I
Because I heard you go, okay, start recording. I was like, okay,
you
he's in
start
character.
recording
You know,
right
he's
now.
I
like,
knew
have
from
I
the
have some
tone.
answer to do like real quick, and then Tristan's like, oh, okay.
And I'm sitting there
so
like
we're
on the
going.
verge of tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm in this situation. Are you freaking kidding me? It was like.
Well, she had like the dirty sock in her mouth.
Okay,
like,
okay. I got
Dirty
that
sock.
from my mother's car. It was a stray piece of fabric. It smelled clean. It must have been clean. It was probably fine.
I mean,
Give
yeah,
it
I
the
know I
smell
can
check.
smell clean.
I was not
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I can detect
Yeah.
clean
Yeah.
with my nose.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah, I mean, and so Tristan, what was that like doing that? Because we kind of let you, like, I knew what shots I wanted, but like, kind of let you take lead on that and kind of do your
Sure.
own thing. So what?
That was really interesting because again, I don't think I've ever really ever had that creative freedom before when it comes to working on productions and whatnot. It was a little scary just because it was very, very hot and my head was hurting once again. But
working on it in general, there was a lot of thinking that had to be done with how exactly we were going to get the shots.
Mhm.
Like when you found the sliding door, your face lit up. It was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I can't think of anything else about it, but it was
Yeah, and
it
like
was quite the time.
yeah, especially because like at that point, I think it was 11. We had an hour left, and I was
Yeah.
like, I should kick it into overdrive. So we were going like shot after shot. Adam's like, come on, come on. And then I know the fridge shot, which shout out to Brendan Bailey. He did the visual effects for that. That the ant jar is not real. Spoiler. Yeah, it was really well done, I thought. But the fridge shot. And like the shot there, it took us forever because Adam and I kept being in frame, and like, so like we put my phone inside the fridge, just kind of like I want to do kind of like a Breaking Bad shot,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
inside the fridge. And so the first time Adam's got the camera and he's just in the shot, and he's like shit. And then the next time I'm just standing there, and I was like, God damn it.
And I'm
It's-
sitting there just like opening and closing this fridge. Like, are we doing this, guys?
So finally, I think it was 2 minutes into the clip, we get the shot. And we did have a lot of troubles with that too, because like the room in a way was big, but it was so small at the same time. So when you had that camera, you had to make sure you weren't in frame because of that room constraint. Yeah, and so we finally got done. We got done with everything on time, and that was a wrap. I mean, anything else to add about the trap room? I mean,
It was a blast.
yeah, and yeah, as you can see right in front of us, the Whitman poster. That's what was on the wall in case you couldn't see it. That was hard to get that shot. And I was expecting, because like in the script, I figured this would like be so tough, and like Tristan would rip it on the first thing.
Gosh.
And so I was like, okay, we've only got this for one take. Like Tristan, you gotta do this good. And then she just pulls it off, and it doesn't even rip.
Here's the deal. I was like super nervous about it though too. I was like, okay, one take, one shot. We have one chance to get this right. And I reach up and I pull it down. It doesn't rip at all. I was like, that's kind of anticlimactic though.
Yeah, it worked though. We still got the poster. So.
Yeah, no, it was really fun.
But yeah, and kind of like, that was like, I know after that day, I was like, that's everything. Like, we got it all done. I know I felt like during the production, I felt like I was always like, we need to get all this done. And like finally, once it was done, it was like, wow, that like we just did that. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like I felt like we'd done like so much. And in a way, I mean, 40 minutes of film. I mean, we cranked out in 7 days. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the production schedule. I do want to turn now to kind of like writing in the script and like some changes that occurred here, because what happened first was wrote the first couple drafts. I kind of like sat on it, looked at it, sent it to Spencer. Spencer made some dialogue changes, I believe,
Yeah.
and then sent it to Walker, and then he kind of consulted me on what he thought was good. But in the first iteration of the script, I think the most important thing is the Psycho's mask was different. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember what it was?
It was a pig mask.
It was. And my kind of reasoning behind that, like looking back now, I'll explain, but I wanted it to be completely different from Lair. I didn't want any comparisons to be made. So if we went with another mask, which in fact we kind of went with a similar one, but I didn't want it to be like I wanted this to be something completely different. And that was my thinking behind that. But then Walker's like, hey, you remember that movie Saw? That's kind of what they did. And I was like, shit, like we got to change it. So that was, I know, at least one of the key things that I changed for Slayer. Not a lot of changing for Nightmare, if I'm being honestly. I think it pretty much stayed intact. Another thing about Slayer, I told Tristan, in the very first like inkling when I was cranking this out, I did think about making Cassidy the killer. Which, speaking of, yeah, Lola played Cassidy. We had like 5 different
love
people
Lola, yes.
lined up to play Cassidy. She came through, so thanks to her. Yeah, we didn't talk about that scene. What was it like to act against Lola? I know you know Lola, so.
Yeah, well, as you said, we had like 5 different people lined up to play Cassidy, so just kind of like not really being able to envision that until it was happening.
Yeah.
Added another element to it that was just kind of like, oh hey, I know her, and I knew that I would meet her here, you know. So again, that kind of helped with getting into character. We ended up using popcorn from the van that I was driving.
Yeah.
I was like, Joe, can we just use this? And you were like, yeah,
If
sure.
we're not eating popcorn, like.
Yeah, I was like, what's the point?
Munching on grass, like.
Well, that's what, like, we were watching the first edited take. I know it was Zach, I think, Walker, Spencer, and I. And we were like, and Spencer's like, where'd she get the popcorn? Like, from the grass? Like, is she just like.
Popcorn.
But like, it works. Like, it made, like, why would they just be sitting there? Like, you brought that up. I was like, yeah, I guess they're eating popcorn together, but.
Yeah, you want to go sit by a tree?
Yeah.
Wait, no popcorn? No, wait, no.
There has to be
Popcorn.
popcorn.
Absolutely. But yeah, in the first draft, I was like,
Mhm.
what if we made Cassidy the killer? And because like I feel like, of course, there's like female serial killers, but in horror we don't see a lot of that, and so that's where I was kind of like, maybe that would work. And because the whole thing is she was in love with Becca, and I was like, that's an interesting angle. That was how I first took it. But then I was like, no, I need Walker for this. Like that was the main driving point. I was like, I've got this role so defined, and I don't think I could see anyone else in it. So I was like, I can't, like, as much as I like that idea, I was like, I can't do that. So yeah, that's kind of like, that's the major thing I think that I didn't do, that I kind of thought, like, what if I had done that? Like, what would have happened? And it really came down to me not like having a set person for Cassidy too, so that's kind of why I abandoned that. But yeah, any other, like, I know you made the Skeeter spitting out water change. Spencer, you want to talk about what you did?
Yeah, I changed some of the dialogue at the very beginning, which got cut before the last, final cut. Like, you guys, you and Lola improv, which was really cool. You can't tell,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So yeah, my edits didn't really make it in, I guess. I made a couple of, like, really minor stuff towards the end, but yeah, I thought it was big props to you guys for improvising.
And yeah, that's another thing. When writing that, I was like, how do I do this? Because like I did not feel comfortable like ever. Like my dialogue at the end, I was still like, I don't know if this like sounds right. Because like Zach was asking me, I know he was like, how do you write like the dialogue for like a female character? And I was like, I just kind of went to Twitter, like, men ain't shit. Like, I don't know. That was like my guiding point. I was like, and so that's what initially when I wrote that, I was like, I'm gonna have him improv it on there just so it sounds better. And like, you want to explain kind of?
Yeah, well, like you said, we did a few takes with the initial dialogue, and then I remember Lola and I kind of being like, okay, improving this, not entirely sure how we're going to do this or how it's going to be. But then as soon as we started, she literally just said the first line, and then we went from there, and it felt very, very natural. And I completely understand the struggle because writing for the opposite sex can have its difficulties.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I'm not a girl. Yeah.
But I really enjoyed having that improv moment with Lola, and I mean, having known her previously was
Yeah.
also a nice fit for that too.
Yeah, because I knew, like, I was like, I can trust Tristan with this. I can trust them, like, to do this. And, like, basically, like, what did I do? Like, give you a couple lines that, like, worked as a guide, and then you went from there.
Yeah, you were basically like, as long as you get this one, and this
Yeah.
one, and then those were our guidelines, we followed them, and I think it turned out great.
Yeah, because you really, all you had to do, that scene was to plant the seeds for, like, her past trauma and, like, why Walker's character ticked, kind of in a way. And so, like, with your additions, what else did you kind of, if you remember?
Well, it's been a hot minute.
I know at least, so originally Slayer was going to be more cutting back and forth between the car and...
Yes. Okay, so I suggested to Joe, okay, like, whenever you have a scene with Tristan in the trap room and you keep cutting away, it's hard to keep that tension there. Like, you need to just be a straight take. Some movies will do it, and sometimes it'll be okay. Personally, I've never been a fan of it. I just kind of told Joe this, like, if you want to build suspense, you have to just be one, like, long take. Like, you can have, like, a flashback scene, but, like, the audience doesn't have to know that, like, that's or like a flash forward scene, like with Tristan in the car earlier. Obviously, like, we figure that she's probably gonna survive, but you need it to just be one long struggle so that your audience struggles with the main character. That was, like, kind of my reasoning behind, like, not having it cut back and forth between her in the car and her in the trap room.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, and then the aunt thing, I think you did add, like, you
Yeah.
suggested that.
I had well, okay, and not to diss on you or anything. I remember, like, whenever I, like, read the first cut and I was like, this is kind of kiddie, Joe. Like, you need to, like, amp up your traps a little bit. Like, just get something dangerous in there.
To me, in my defense, like, I didn't know what we could do realistically, so that's why I was like, but yeah.
So you came up with, like, the fire ants in the jar, and it was like, I mean, if you can get somebody to, because obviously we're not going to have our leading lady stick her hand in a jar full of fire ants.
Why not? No.
As much as
it's already
like,
cursed enough.
We want her to, but no, I think Brendan Bailey did a really good job.
I think he did, yeah.
And
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, he also did the hallway shots for Nightmare, running down the dark hallway. Because, like, when we shot that, I was kind of like, it's dark, but it's not dark enough. And so having him do that, I think, was really helpful. And yeah, shout out to him for sure. So now let's kind of turn course towards the characters. I do want to talk about this. Mainly Adam. So this was your first time, revisiting Daniel. And like, where is he at in Nightmare? And what is this movie about for his character arc, really? What do you think?
For Nightmare, I definitely think he has become a lot more mature and content. Like, he's accepted reality. He understands that he's in purgatory and that there's nothing he can do. And the only person he's ever talked to eventually got called up. So that's his last hope. That's all he can really do. And to see Tristan's like fresh energy from her character of like, hey, I just got here, let's figure out how to get out. Kind of like, I feel like as a character, I felt that spark up again, like that drive to get out of purgatory, to figure out what happened, to face your fears. There was definitely a feeling there from that energy.
Yeah. And I mean, like, what was it like for you coming off Slayer? Granted, we filmed it all together, but like, in that movie, what does her arc mean to you, and what is?
I love how it shows a side to Becca that we saw a bit of in Slayer, but it's definitely highlighted in Nightmare with how stubborn she is and how driven she is to, like, we need to get out, we need to figure this out. This doesn't have to be it, And I mean, we did see that a little bit before in Layer, but I think Layer really works on highlighting her intellect more than anything, and I really do appreciate
Slayer,
that
yeah.
about the film. Yes, Slayer, my apologies.
She was actually there the entire time.
Yeah.
Watch it again, guys. No,
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And that's another thing too. Like, for this third one, because in a way, the first one, as I said, old horror. The second one, new horror. And this one was kind of like a hybrid. Honestly, the show that made me think of this Nightmare was The End of the Effing World on Netflix. Kind of in a way, because it's these two teens kind of like banding together, just kind of going on the two misfits in a way, going on this like adventure in a way. And that's kind of what I drew inspiration from a little bit. And it's interesting you say that, because a lot of people I know, like at least us in the initial cut, like, why is Daniel acting so old? The intention behind that was that because there's like a whole timeline, I should say, for these movies. The whole thing is every year like human time, you are in purgatory, multiply that by 10 years. So that's kind of the thing, because I think Lair is 2018. So let's see. So the slasher gets caught in 2019. 2020 is your case, and then 2022 is Slayer. So that's kind of the thought, because he spends about 3 years in purgatory, normal time. So he's 30 years older in a sense. So that's what I kind of wanted to convey. He's basically at the point where Skeeter was in Lair. So that's why I kind of wanted to go through that arc. And in a way, with Becca, I wanted to address, why did she cackle at the end of Slayer? Because that's a big question. Like, and what did you kind of take from that? Like,
From that, as to like why she cackled at the very end.
Yeah, and what does that have an impact on her in Nightmare?
I believe when Becca kind of finally lets out that cackle, it's more of like an exhale almost, if that makes any sense. Because I mean, you think about what happened to her in the past. You think about everything that she's been through in just like this one night. And she's like, I'm so sick. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of this being brought up over and over again. There's definitely going to be an emotional, mental toll that's taken on her. So then that cackle is just kind of like oh my God, I did it. Like, I'm done. I'm done with all of this and whatnot. And then I think part of that drive that comes with her trying to like figure out like what's the next step come Nightmare comes from that kind of like, I thought I wouldn't ever have to deal with this again,
Yeah, she was, yeah. Because that's the whole thing, she starts to put herself out there again, and then the next guy she dates is like another like POS. Like,
yeah, not only that, but then you like directly reference what happened in the case and everything. That's definitely gonna hit her,
Yeah, because like that's another thing, like adding in that layer, it keeps popping up. My thing was, I always knew I wanted to tie them together by the slasher being his inspiration. And then the more and more we went on, we were like, like what, there needs to be another connection here. And like, what if his brother was the one that did this to her, and that further drives it home. I think that was kind of a collab on our part, because in the beginning, you know, that line about the trial really is supposed to throw you off, even though I feel like most people watching it know it's Walker, but I don't think there's really realistically any way we could do that differently, honestly. But yeah, and so it was an important part of Nightmare, at least, to bring these two characters together, play them off each other, because you know you're the grumpy old man in a way, and she is the fresh new face, and I love that dynamic and how it turned out with you guys. So turning to Walker, what was it like to come back, albeit you know in a nightmare state, in Nightmare?
I don't know. I feel like my character, just as this kind of crazy dude, he kind of, if there was any shred of like humanity left in him that like came out in, like the coffee house scene, like it's obviously like gone at this point, because he's had his guts knifed out by this lady. Like, what the heck? I've got nothing to live for. I'm already dead. So like I'm just gonna go all out. I'm gonna torment these kids. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. And Spencer, what was it like? You were the dead body in Lair. He still hates me for putting his credit as that picture. But what was it like coming back as Adam Carlson? Because that's kind of your signature role to the universe we're building here.
Yeah. Yeah. So uncredited, Adam Carlson doesn't appear in any of the credits. So
because that's
Easter
who it
egg,
is.
Adam Carlson.
Spoiler.
Yeah. It wasn't as fun being the dead body. I can tell you right now, having chocolate syrup dumped on your face is not anything I'd want to redo.
Do you feel dead?
Yeah, I felt dead. You guys were dumping it on my face. It was in my hair for like days.
And then one thing that didn't make it into the bloopers that we've got a video of Adam, because like what Adam would do, he'd pour the chocolate syrup in his mouth and like spit all over Spencer, and there's just a video of him like spitting all over.
I would spit close to Spencer. I would not spit on Spencer.
Well, it was on the
It's
trash
a
bag.
miracle I
It was
didn't
on
get
Spencer.
COVID.
Yeah, I know, for real.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
The whole time.
This was during Lair pre-COVID. No, but it's like just a video, and like you see it of like Adam just going like spitting all over. But that was kind of a task in a way, creating that scene.
Yeah. My favorite joke that comes from the body is that my end credit scene is more screen time than the body actually got. Like that's why I'm mad about it. You
It's
could have used
true.
Adam Carlson, who got like a little bit more screen time than the body, but
In all fairness, I did slow it down like half speed.
yeah, I didn't want that. I didn't want my
face just like
chocolate
upside
syrup
down.
covered face. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and you know, kind of starting out with Fake, obviously all these are somewhat connected. Adam
Yeah.
Carlson's like the overall, in a way.
He's the puppet master. He
he's
controls all of it now.
He's the actual mastermind now.
He's Thanos.
Honestly. But no, I think it's interesting how we were able to weave this all together, honestly, and how it turned out. I love the way it turned out, honestly. So to kind of come to our little last segment here, let's offer some answers kind of on things, because I know at least I've gotten some stuff already. Obviously at the end of Nightmare, after Daniel comes back, he faces fear. He eventually goes down in this hallway that we've been teasing. And obviously from his facial reactions, he is not happy about this. So Adam, what did you take from this, first reading the script, and what did you think?
You saw Carl Weezer.
I knew you did.
What I saw when I read that part of the script and walking down that, like actually filming that scene, I saw it more as like he's afraid to do something that he had, because he's been waiting in purgatory this entire time. So he's experiencing something new, and he doesn't want to do that without Becca. Like that's, and like whatever he's going through or wherever he's going, he knows he's going to do it alone, and he doesn't want that again because he knows how long it can be being alone.
Yeah.
So what I took from that is like just like the pain of like, am I ever gonna like see Becca again or something? But
Ooh,
my
yeah.
roommate guy thought he was just right at the very end. So he went to hell. I was like, well, yeah, it definitely looked like that. And I was like, good,
Yeah.
that's definitely an interpretation.
Yeah.
But
Anyone else? What do you guys think? I mean,
My interpretation was a little bit darker than Adam's, but I'm gonna say it anyways. So okay, I think I forget his name, Mr. Clerkman at the desk. Whenever he congratulates both Adam and Tristan, like I think it's very. He comes across as very genuine, but also he's like a big dickhead. Like earlier on, like because he does a great job of portraying a dickhead. But like, anyways, what I'm trying to say is. I think he was being very misleading whenever he told him congratulations and like kind of gave Adam a pass to go
Ooh.
faster.
That's
And
good.
what I kind of saw the hallway as was like, so normally you like wait your turn and like this angelic music plays and like you go on, but because they tried to cut their place in line, this hallway was almost like a
Ooh.
grater. So like Adam's soul was kind of being torn apart.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I
Like,
like
that's like why like the light like got brighter and like he started screaming because it's almost like he's being like thrown through the grinder. Like that's
Ooh.
scary.
Ooh, I like that. I definitely. Okay, Tristan.
Yeah, I'm with your roommate. I just thought you went to hell. I'm so sorry. I was like, yeah, that's it. No, but like, oh my gosh, that you just blew my mind with that. Oh
Yeah,
my
that
God.
was wow. Like, I'll explain my thing. Spencer, what did you kind of take? I want to do with mine last.
I
but-
thought he went to hell.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that's
It looked pretty self-explanatory. He's like, all right, we're cooking here. We're getting out of here. And then he was cooking.
Is that Satan himself?
All right.
I remember talking to Joe about this because I don't know if you were like totally a big fan of like Adam freaking out at the end.
That's-
But
yeah,
like
that's
I was like, Joe, you have to do this. Like the trilogy has to. I'm a big fan of unsatisfying endings for films. That's just like a me thing.
Okay.
And I was like, Joe, you have to do this because you
Yeah.
know this is purgatory. Okay, this can't have a happy ending. No.
I think for like me, I think I wanted it to be more of confusion. I didn't want him to be happy. I didn't want
Yeah.
him to be scared. I just wanted him to be confused.
Yeah, because I was very on the fence about this, whether to include the long or like just cut it when he starts looking like shocked, and that's where
Right.
in the editing room, I think the other ending, like the ending with Cho, just really hits you because my whole thing behind this movie, like the central question behind this was, where do we go after we die? And that's kind of my thing. Like, there is no definitive answer for what happens at the end. Like, that's what I like about that. It's open to interpretation. I mean, a possibility one, you know, he sees something that he doesn't like, you know, and then it turns out to be like like he's actually fine. Possibility two, he actually goes to somewhere that's not better. And like possibility three, somewhere in the middle. Like, it's up to interpretation, left it that way. And that's kind of the thing. But everyone does suffer the same thing.
Oh,
Confirmed. So yeah, whatever everyone gets is what everyone gets. I do like that interpretation, but so you have to make up your mind. You know, did Skeeter walk into the same fate? Like, is it a good fate? Is it a bad fate? Like, that's kind of my thinking. Like, everyone gets the same thing because, like, he just got there faster because they like faced their nightmares, and that's the whole thing. And I would like to think Becca does get called shortly after there. She doesn't have to, and I kind of had that in my mind. I'm like, she's not going to get like wait as long as Daniel just for the irony.
Adam Carlson's sequel meets Becca in Purgatory.
Oh my gosh. I'm
Whoa.
down. I'm so down.
Confirm, no, yeah, the stunt doubles. I mean, they won't be able to tell you guys apart. Like,
It's just Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
face
I'm
swap
Cliff.
you guys is
Basically.
No, but that was kind of my, like, all these movies, you know, like Lair, it started with like what happens if this guy stumbles into this house, and it's actually the killer's obviously Lair, and that's the whole thing behind that. Slayer, it had to more do with the implication of, you know, him being a Slayer, you know, the Slayer in the Heartland, obviously, and then the aspect of Becca, her guilt from doing that to the psycho, which granted she was the victim. I will clarify that. Like, she had every right to do what she did. And then Nightmare was really, again, like, where do we get, that was the central question. I was like, I need to expand the purgatory aspect. I need to explain more of this. And so that's what you kind of saw. You know, you saw Skeeter develop from, you know, this anxious guy who just shows up and he's like, where am I? And
Where am I?
and then we get him going from there. So like every vignette of Skeeter is supposed to be like a development in his character. So like the first one. Then there's the second one where he realizes how he died, kind of, and like it all comes back. And I do want to point out, Skeeter had some of the best contributions to his character. For Lair, he was the one who suggested the lifeguard training, so that kind of started that all in motion. And for Nightmare, he was like, I took this scene with the watch as him realizing the time stopped and he was dead, which I didn't take it that way at all, but I like that interpretation. And then the third scene, so at this point, Skeeter, Tom is like starting to get grumpy. He's like, I'm waiting here forever, and this is the one I knew I had to, like, there had to be a catalyst that drove Skeeter to Lair Skeeter. And I knew this was going to be Lily. Lily, Joanna's daughter, played the young girl. I was like, what would happen if he sees like a young girl there? And he's like, what the hell? Like, I thought there were only adults here, but like it turns out to be her. And so that was kind of like, I always knew I had to fit that in there, and it made it kind of more fitting because after Lair, I know at least Joanna was like, hey, if you need like a person Lily, it would be happy to do it. And so I just started thinking, I was like, that could work. And then, so we brought Lily in, and she acted as basically his catalyst. And you'll see after that, the angry Skeeter reaction. But that's where he fully transforms into the Lair Skeeter. And that's kind of what I want to do with that subplot. Yeah. And so what was it like to kind of conclude here? What was it like to view this as a trilogy? What was it like to be a part of it? What was it like to see this? Like, we started off with Lair. I never thought it would turn into this trilogy. What was it like going from that small, like, day at Tawanda all the way to here? I mean, everyone,
I go first. So honestly, I don't think I can ever watch Lair the same way again. Like I always like I would watch Lair and be like, oh yeah, this is like a really cool standalone film. But like now I can't watch it without the context of like what happens like in the other ones and like seeing Adam's character develop and like these two stories merge. Like I think that's really cool. I think that we have to sell DVDs with the Lair Slayer Nightmare trilogy. It has to be a one big feature film.
Box set.
Bundle deal.
Yeah. No, but like I think like if you watch it, you have to watch all three because like it's very completing.
Yeah. Spencer, we'll go down the line.
Yeah, I mean, as a trilogy, like you said, I wasn't expecting it to be. I thought it was just like a fun, like,
one-off, yeah.
Yeah, like second semester, do something fun, hang out, and yeah, turning it into a trilogy and filming 2 movies back to back was super cool. It was a really cool experience. Cause yeah, like I met you guys, Walker and Adam, just from Lair, and then I met you from Slayer.
Well,
so like
whodunit, really.
That's true. Table read for
Yeah.
whodunit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was just fun working with all of you guys and kind of seeing one another develop as like characters and people, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So being able to like be a part of the filming process and understand the intentions of all the characters and the scenes and the inspiration, like being able to experience it, all of that, and then going back and watching it, it is just really, really satisfying to see it all come together and kind of like you had all these ideas from scripts and you had kind of a sense of what it was going to look like, but knowing that like you had fun doing it and the way that it came out was just as satisfying as being a part like on the set is just really satisfying. Yeah. And I like how they all build on top of each other. They all add a new layer to
Ooh.
each
Third time of
each
the
film.
podcast.
Yeah. I thought
Every time we say layer,
Represents
the bell
Every
rings.
time you look at you.
I absolutely loved seeing it all come together as well. Working with you guys was a fantastic experience, a wonderful first film for me. My head might have gotten hurt, but it was fine. I absolutely loved
remember
it.
She was a champ.
That's true, and everyone was so kind and so considerate throughout the whole process too. I mean, after that night, just kind of making sure that I was okay, that I was hydrated. But seeing the films all together, that was the initial question. Sorry.
No,
It was very satisfying. It was nice to see all the work kind of like in the final product.
Yeah. So as I said, I never expected this to be, when I did Lair, I was like, this is a one-off, nothing more. And I was like, I've got this other idea, and then I was like, shit, I can tie these together. And I just like how it became a whole trilogy and everything, and how it all came together in a way. I wasn't expecting it to do that. And of course, working with you guys, Evan, Skeeter, Joanna, Lily, it was great, John too. And I really lucked out with you guys, the leads, like great job, seriously. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for better leads. Walker too, as a psycho. Evan, even though he has his meme moments, but Evan did because that was his whole thing. In a way, Evan was kind of the driving force behind Lair. He's like, dude, Pop's house, man, very scary. Like,
yeah.
And that's just how Evan was. And I was like, is it really that scary? And we visited it in November. And I was like, shit, this thing is like so creepy. And so we went up, developed the script after that, and he's like, and I was like, you're gonna be the killer, right? He's like, sure. And then so it kind of took off from there. And yeah, to kind of conclude, we kind of left Evan out of this, but what was it like working with Evan? I know he's got. I know for one, during Lair at least, Evan's a me. Like so many times, I know the one time his idea was to put the hatchet into the log, and that took like 8 different takes because he just couldn't get it right. And between that and practicing his run, I mean,
his head tilt.
Spencer did that. Yeah. You want
head tilt choreography?
Yeah, like it was such a weird thing because the log thing was like, it was like, oh, what can you do with the hatchet? You don't want to just put it down or something. So like he was like, okay, well, I have to throw it in here. Also, you made a bed for a dead mouse or something.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it was on top of the
Yeah.
log. He was
Yeah.
trying to.
Yeah,
and
so
I was
we were
like,
like-
you don't want to hit the mouse.
Yeah,
that's right, yeah.
It's like paper or something.
So we held a
I don't
really
remember that.
really short funeral for this mouse.
That's right.
We had a little moment of silence.
We did.
Yeah.
And then we carried on with our killings.
Yeah.
But
the
yeah,
7 takes of chopping a log.
Yeah. And then like his head tilt, like he would either tilt too much, like he'd be like,
Or too fast.
or like he would jerk,
He'd be like,
just like no, and then he wouldn't tilt at all. He's like, guys, I can't see out of the mask. I was like, that doesn't
Which
affect
gra-
your head tilt.
granted,
It's just
it
like-
was hard to see out of that mask.
It was,
but
yes, but like the head tilt, it was just like, it's the whole thing. And also, he ate buffalo wings
We
at
need to
10 in the
address
morning.
that.
Breakfast. I think
Wings
it was
for
earlier than
breakfast.
10.
it was 9.
Yeah.
It's 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were, like, because it was right before Lair, and so
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first scene we shoot was the running,
Yep.
and he's eating buffalo wings, and he's like, guys, my stomach hurts.
I feel the hot, guys.
We were like, yeah, no kidding. I mean, that was probably the best Evan moment.
Yeah. I don't know anybody else. Yeah.
The buffalo wings.
The buffalo
Yeah,
wings.
the
Yeah.
buffalo wings was fun.
He's like, I'm feeling it now, guys. I was like, Evan, what did you expect at 8 in the morning at
Oh,
Denny's?
wait. I think my favorite Evan moment was like whenever we were filming inside the house and it had to be like super quiet, but like you could just hear Evan talking to Pops in the background.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah, that is
That was
something
pretty
I
good.
missed for Nightmare, being able to go in and shake his hand at the end of each day. but
Yeah.
Rip COVID. But yeah, I mean, anybody else? Before we?
I didn't work with him a whole lot, but I mean, it was
Yeah.
great working
Pops,
with
yeah.
him. Well, I was good at
Oh no, yeah, Pops.
Yeah, she only
Pops
wants
is-
Pops.
Pops is an
That's
animal.
a separate. That's the new one. Oh. Anyway,
Pops
yeah.
is the new Slayer.
It's like, well, that's good. Yeah.
Shake my hand, and we'll do that.
It is his house.
It is his house.
Oh. Pop's the real Slayer. Yeah, so some last minute thank yous. Thanks to everyone here. Thanks to Adam and Zach for helping out with filming and stuff and letting us use this, of course. And to LCTV, 89X, the whole shebang. Thanks to everyone who had a part in this. Thanks to everyone who watched this, first of all. I mean, that's another big part. And yeah, just thanks for all the reception we got from this. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about everyone from involved with it, from the acting to everything. And, you know, it's as much like, it's not just me, it's everyone here that really played a part in it. So I thank you for that. So yeah, thanks for tuning in for this discussion of Slayer and Nightmare. You can find them on YouTube under Joe Garcia Productions. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching that video. For more content like that, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to get all of your Take-Two news and updates.